Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Graduate Dentist Podcast, your go-to guide through real-world dentistry and a community amongst grads. Today officially marks our 1 year of the Graduate Dentist Podcast, and it is also our 20th episode. And so to commemorate and celebrate this special occasion, I wanted to bring on someone who has been with me every step of the way. In fact, they've been with me since the very beginning of my life, and that is my older brother, Dr. Paul Jay Hwin. Paul and I are at very different stages of both our lives and our careers. Now, you all know my story from being a student to a recent grad, now practicing in Brisbane, as I document the ins and outs of navigating clinical dentistry. In contrast, Paul has been practicing dentistry for well over 10 years now, is a multi-practice owner with clinics both based in Melbourne and rural Victoria, and he mentors over 50 dentists. His practice is now limited to complex dentistry, including full mouth rehabilitations, cosmetic work, implants, all on X's. And very recently, he just launched his first official course, Reorganise, Replace and Restore the Full Mouth Protocol. It's something that I know has been this huge dream of his, to be able to teach and to give back. And so I'm super proud to have been able to watch it take shape and take form and finally happen. And I guess in the same vein, Paul's been able to watch this whole podcast grow from when it was just this small seed of an idea to what it is now. We often get asked about one another, and we often have these conversations between ourselves as well. And so in this episode, I really wanted to take a deep dive in both our journeys in parallel, pretty much since the very beginning. We talk about our upbringing, what instilled our core values, our drivers, our motivators, and this shared passion we both have for teaching and being able to help others. I thought this was a really nice way to commemorate 1 year of the podcast and have a different spin to my usual 6-month recalls and updates that I do with all of you. Additionally, to celebrate 1 year, I also have a couple of exciting announcements to share with everyone. The first one being that we now have our official Graduate Dentist merchandise. They are these wonderful half-zip jumpers that come in both black and beige and have our cute Graduate Dentist logo on it. Now, my goal with the Graduate Dentist has always been to provide as much value as I possibly can to you all, whilst making it as easily and freely accessible as possible. And so if the podcast has helped you, if our Instagram page, if the Discord, if our meetups, if anything has been beneficial in any way and you'd like to show your support, then please consider getting one of our jumpers. It would mean the world to me. And just imagine how cool it would be going to a course, seeing someone else repping our jumpers and knowing you instantly have a friend. You can check them out on our brand spanking new website at thegraduatedentist.com. And whilst you are there, announcement number 2, we are officially hosting our very first Graduate Dentist meetup of the year in Melbourne on Sunday, March the 9th. And this time we are taking it to the next level because we have a very special guest, oral surgeon, Dr. Sue Wee on. Now, if there's one thing as new grads that stresses us out more than anything else, it is getting stuck in an extraction, not having anyone around to bail you out and all the blood, sweat and tears that just go into it. And so I've invited Sylvie along so that we can start our morning off with an exclusive 2-hour lecture on how to go from stressing about your next extraction to loving every second of it. And we will be following it up with our very first live podcast interview where you guys get to be in the audience and you get to watch along, be part of behind the scenes, you get to ask questions, interact. It'll be like going on your favorite talk show. And so I'm super excited to see that all come together. Following on from our CPD morning, where you'll get 4 CPD points, we will of course have our iconic and beloved Graduate Dentist meetup, where you get to mix and mingle. There'll be canapes, there'll be a bar tab, games, competitions, giveaways, the whole shebang. Tickets are $55, or if you want to bundle it together with a jumper, it would be $85. You can find out all the information, sign up, register, again through the website at thegraduatedentist.com. All right, enough with all the chit chat. We are going to crack on and jump into our episode with Paul. Welcome to the Graduate Dentist Podcast.
Thanks.
Welcome back. This is part 2. Actually, I don't even feel like part 1 really counted. That was like a bite-sized episode when I was lying upside down on your couch.
That was a long time ago. Look how far you've come.
It's actually, I really wanted to do this episode with you because this is actually almost 1 year exactly of the podcast.
Right. It's been 1 year already.
It's been 1 year. And this will be our 20th episode. And I was like, this is a, I don't know, a special moment, like a big deal. And I was like, oh, who do I want to do this with? And I was like, well, you have been part of it every step of the way. So I thought it would be nice to kind of do this episode together. And I thought a theme for today's episode was kind of to be our journeys in dentistry in parallel over the years.
As in comparing my first year with your first year.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh,
well, I
man,
don't
this is going to be a
know.
long time.
Right? Because it's like, oh, I don't know. I think I'm very proud of where we both are today, but we're also on very different paths. And I
Mm.
think a common question people often ask us is like, oh, why don't you work together? Right? Or,
Mhm.
or I think people often ask us about each other, but we're very much on our own journeys. And we cross in certain ways, but we do our own things. And I don't think we've ever actually talked through it or reflected on it and shared it with people. So I thought it'd be a nice episode to do.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm kind of like I'm trying to think about what kind of questions you're going to ask, but you know, if it's any kind of conversation that we have on a regular basis,
Mm,
it'll be worthy a listen. I think me and you have conversations all the time in the car or in person, and I always hear you say, "Oh, I should have recorded that. We should have
yeah.
recorded that." So this is just going to be a regular conversation that we have.
It's just a regular conversation, which is funny because it's like, oh, you saw me hesitate before I clicked record because I was like, do I give you a rundown? I was like, do I do briefing? I'm like, no, I'm literally just going to click record and we're just going to chat. And I think these are the best conversations because our listeners always love it when it just feels like they're driving to work and it's just your two best friends in the backseat gas bagging. And this is what we do day in, day out.
Mhm,
Oftentimes it's
mhm.
just both of us driving home from work or something and we just catch
Well,
up and we call.
I apologize to the broader audience who has to listen to
Put
the
up
both of us gas
both of
bag
us.
for the next however many hours we're going to have a conversation.
But just for a bit of context, people are probably tuning in and they're like, I have no idea who the two of you are and
Mm.
no idea what you guys are talking about.
Well, I mean, it's your
But
podcast. Maybe you should say where you're at right now. Why don't you tell people where you're at, what your journey's been like, and then I'll chime in.
yeah, well, this is actually me going into my third year now, which is kind of scary to say. And I think this is the first time where I feel like, oh, I'm no longer a new grad. And it's been particularly put in context, or particularly, it feels more so concrete. I have 3 new grads that are working with me this year. So I'm no longer the new kid. And I feel like I'm taking on that big sister role. I talked about it in just my episode just before this one with you, with Dr. Anasa Yub. And I said, I've never felt this feeling before because I'm the younger sibling.
That's exactly my thought process as you were going through. I think the family equivalent of this occurring would have been when Winnie had kids and you were no
Yeah.
longer the baby in the family. For context, Winnie's our older sister and when she had kids, Erica was no longer the baby, but she was the baby for the longest time.
Right. And so this
Yeah.
is the same thing within the practice as well. It's just like, oh, what do you mean there are new kids? Right? What do you mean? What do you mean I'm not the youngest one anymore? But it's nice. It's an opportunity to kind of step up. And I think it ties in well with the podcast because I knew that I wasn't going to be the graduate dentist forever. But it's an area that I'm passionate about. It's a topic that I feel very strongly about. I've kind of been in this niche, this world for quite some time now with podcasting and everything and really trying to advocate and look after students and new grads. And now it's a little shift in the dynamic of, okay, I'm not necessarily the fresh grad or the student anymore, but I get to be, the bigger sister. I'm like not the expert. I'm not that far out yet. I'm no course provider. I'm not an educator. I'm not a practice owner like you are. But someone who's just a few pages ahead that can hopefully provide some guidance to our younger listeners. And so I guess that's where we're at with the journey. And the podcast is doing really well. Like we're officially 1 year in. It's more than I could have ever imagined it
I mean,
would
it's your
be.
first year. It's your first year in
Yeah.
this podcast, but it's your third year of podcasting,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny because, you said you're entering your third year of dentistry
Mm.
or practicing, but you're 3 years in your podcasting. So it's funny how they kind of have happened line in line. So all your listeners have actually listen to your entire journey, from final year to new grad to second year to no longer a new grad.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so many of them will be in your shoes as well, though. They will be the ones who are looking after younger associates, right? So why don't you tell people how that feels and what was it like meeting the new grads?
Meeting the new grads.
Yeah.
It was crazy because it was the first time just like seeing them ask questions. I remember one of our new grads sent me a message and then she was just like, Erica, this is a really stupid question. But are we Medicare Easy claim or are we Medicare, like whatever it is, it's on the provider when you sign up for your provider number, right? And
Right,
she's like,
right.
I don't know the answer. And I just giggled. And then I scrolled back and took a screenshot of when I had asked my boss, Jeff, and my practice manager the exact same question. And I
Yeah.
just screenshot it to her and sent it to her. And I'm like, there are no silly questions. I asked this exact same question 2 years ago. And she would just laugh and she giggled. And we're like, how it's come full circle. So it's really nice to now feel like I'm on the other side and then, yeah, able to give back. So often it was just me sharing my journey. I still anticipate that with the podcast and everything that I do. It's just documenting my journey, sharing it. It's so nice to see so many people just like resonate with it, right? But now also perhaps stepping into a bigger role of, okay, I have something to give as well. And I can look after people who, are anxious and nervous and overthinking and worried. With our whole Discord platform, we're almost at 500 members now with it. We've only launched it like
Wow.
2 months ago. It's crazy,
500,
right?
500 people.
500 members, and someone sent a
500
message.
people want to listen to you.
No, this is the community. This is on the Discord. Right? I don't know if that many people listen to me, but like someone sent a message and it was funny. And they just said, I don't know who created this platform. And they were like, I just wanted to say thank you because this is my first time feeling comfortable speaking up on social media because I'm always too scared to ask questions on other forums just because I feel stupid. But they're like, this is such a wholesome, supportive environment. I feel safe. And that really warmed my heart because I feel like that's everything that I do. That's what I really wanted to create, and to see that actually starting to take place. Like, it feels nice. Like this 1 year feels like it feels special. Yeah.
And so it should. I mean, like, for you to come up with an idea that has been, I guess, first of all, I don't even know what a Discord chat is. I'm pretty sure my age, but like, I don't even know what a Discord chat
You
is.
should
And
have a chat with Johan and Brat.
I don't even know what it was. I mean, but all I know is you wouldn't let me in it, and that's fine. But I think it's great that you've created this community. I've seen you go from going through uni, going through your final graduate, join the podcast, do your own thing, and create your own podcast. And you've always about creating community, right? And you came up with these crazy ideas about being a podcast that meets up with people. And then I'm like, okay. And then now you're a podcast that's created a platform for people to talk to. So it's weird to compliment my sister sometimes because we don't come from a family that compliment each other that often. But it's pretty incredible to see that you've built that, and that you are looked up to by so many people, because I know it's something that you don't give yourself enough credit for. So I'm proud of you.
That's too. That's icky now. Yeah,
That's it. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Right, that's enough. That's too much. Too many words of affirmation. Right? The nicest thing Paul has ever said to me in my 27 years.
Okay,
right?
very good. Let's move on. Let's move on to the bad side.
But yeah, it's funny how you say that because every time I come up with these ideas, I think our relationship has always worked in a way, and people often ask, like, you're Paul Jay Hwin's younger sister. He's such a gun. He's this phenomenal dentist, can do everything and anything. Like, why don't you go work with him? Or like, you must learn so much from him. But I think the way that I've learned from you is always been like unique. I don't necessarily go to you every single day for day-to-day thing. And I don't think that would ever work. And people will find out why, because I'm going to dive into why in this episode. But I've always seen you very much as kind of like a lighthouse or a guiding light. And oftentimes it's just we have a conversation every so often. We don't see each other very often. We see each other like maybe a handful of times throughout the year, right? But every so often we'll have a conversation and you're just like, point me in a direction. And you're like, I think you should try that. Or I come to you with a crazy idea and you're like, right, just do it. And you might give me a few pointers and then I very much run with it. But I think you've always been that kind of support system of just, right, just go for it, right? Like what can happen, right? You never know unless you try. And I think you've always been good at pushing me because in our real, like, I guess our dynamics and all that, you were always the more middle child, right? The rebellious, the confident, the daredevil one, the one that broke all the rules. Me and Winnie were both the goody two shoes, right? And so I'm always too scared to do anything. And you always said to me, you're like, Erica, your one biggest fault is that you're not confident enough. We don't have enough belief. And so you were always my, like, the one that just literally pushed me off. Do you remember when we were younger and how I learned to swim?
I'm going to have to defer to you because it's obviously a traumatic experience for you than it was for me.
No, but it was, I would never put my head underwater. And then there was this time when mom's just like, oh my goodness. And she literally just like threw me into the water
Yeah.
and then told you to go stand in the deep end just to ensure that I didn't actually drown. And then she told you to,
That sounds like
let me
something mum and I would do.
yeah, let me flail around a little bit. And then, I ended up learning how to swim. But I think that was a good analogy for basically.
That's a good analogy for a lot of things. You've made a lot of
Yeah.
big decisions, and the biggest decision that comes to my mind was when you had the opportunity to do your studies in in Sydney. That was probably your biggest leap of faith to date. Like up until you were 21, you know, you were the youngest of the family, and so you were always around mom, and mom would always take care of you, and you had me and Winnie to drive you around and take you to places, and you hadn't probably grown up as much as you could. And then this opportunity comes along and it's like, do you study in Melbourne or do you study in Sydney? And, I think me and mum and Winnie and a few of us had a discussion and we came to the same conclusion that, yes, the difficult decision for you would be to move away, but you will grow up so much more. And so, that would be us pushing you into the water at the age of 21, right? But look at that journey now. Look at where you are. Look at where it's taking you. And so sometimes, you being who you are, but you have that. I guess that's how I see my position to you is that you can take these chances, you can take these opportunities because I've walked that road in a certain way, in dentistry. But like, what have you got to lose? Do you know what I mean? Like I've taken gambles and chances myself, and I've been given advice by family, by mom, by dad, by Winnie, and it's always worked out for me. So it's kind of like, well, we're always here when you need us, but we can only point you in a direction, and if we guide you every single step of the way, you won't learn anything.
Yeah. It's that at one point you have to just let go and let me do my thing. And I think that's very much it. It was just like, whilst you have been there and you've always been my guiding light, I don't think I would ever grow up if I never just let go and just went and explored on my own. And then every so often, like the other day when I'm just like not in a good place and I just come to you crying. And I'm like, I stuffed up. What do I do now? But the rest of the time, it's just you figure it out on your own. But I think enough about me. I think our listeners probably hear too much about me anyway. And probably want to learn a lot more about you and your journey. And I said I've shared a little bit about where I am right now, but it's been a pretty big last couple of years for you. And I think this year looks like it's going to be quite an exciting one as well. But tell our listeners, I guess, where you're at in your journey, and then we can kind of wind it back together.
Yeah, I mean, do you want me to share the equivalent of my first 3 years first, or do you want me to talk about right now?
Right now,
Yeah, okay.
for
Wow.
context, you're 7 years older than me, just to rub that in. And you've been practicing now, is this your 11th?
I'll stop counting, but I think it's my 12th or 13th year. It's one of those. I'm double digits. I'm in the double digits now.
Yeah.
People have heard, or people who have listened to my journey before. I guess, I was an associate dentist for 2.5 years before I became a practice owner, and then very quickly that became multiple practices. The group got bigger and bigger over time, and then it got to a point where nowadays I pretty much practice complex dentistry nowadays in terms of the work I do, the day in and day outs that I do. It's heavily in implant surgeries, it's in cosmetics, it's in rehabilitative work. Not any of the work I do, I suppose, it's not a regular day-to-day chill day. Every day brings along its own stresses, whether it be in the form of management or in the form of clinical,
Mm.
But that's been what my journey has been like for the last 2 or 3 years, is just been performing cosmetic and complex implant surgery work. And you know what? Like, I've learned a lot from it, and I'm happy to say that I've reached a point where I'm very comfortable with my workflows. I'm very comfortable in my space, and I kind of realized that I enjoy very much the clinical side of dentistry. There was a point in my journey between probably the fourth year to maybe the eighth or ninth year where clinical kind of took a back burner a little bit. It was very heavily focused on the business side of things and growing that side and that arm. And I always said to myself, oh, I don't need to do too much clinical, because how many how many buckets can I possibly fill with these kinds of things before I reach a point where I can't take it on? And then, fortunately enough, I now have partners who help me with the clinics, that it allows me to take my mind off things. And then I've rediscovered in the last 3 years, just rediscovered my love for clinical dentistry again, and more recently, and what I think a lot of the focus will be this year is going back into teaching. And I've been really fortunate enough to be able to teach my group for a very long time. It's our thing, I would call it almost like our little trademark, where we do a lot of mentoring. We do the form of mentoring. I promise this is not a plug. I'm just trying to explain what I do. But
Yeah.
year upon year, we've always improved our mentoring program, partly because our group enjoys teaching, and we love getting together and learning and sharing our knowledge. We do hands-on. We do 4 workshops throughout the year. We do lectures every month, and we have guest lectures come along. And I've always loved teaching my own group. I've spent a lot of time mentoring. I kind of mentor over 30, 40 dentists whenever they need me, probably 20 actively, and then the others kind of come to me when they need me. But now I've had this opportunity to teach other people. I've been invited to teach other groups. Your group was one of them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just sparked my joy for it. And now I've been working on my course, and that sold out really quickly, and I'm humbled by that. How I was feeling about that. I didn't know how it was going to be received or what it was going to be like, but I'm just been humbled by it all. So yeah, this is exciting because it's going to be busy on that front, but it's a good exciting. It's something that I'm passionate about and I enjoy and I love. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I think we were both really blown away, and like there was that anticipation of like, oh my god, this is something that you've been wanting to do for so
Mhm.
long,
Mhm.
and then to release it and then get the response that you did, and just how many people, like when you shared it on Facebook, how many people commented, and it's like, oh my goodness, like these aren't fake comments, these aren't people we paid, right? We didn't
Yeah.
bribe any of them, but they're all people that you have taught and you have mentored and deeply impacted over the years. And I think you sell yourself short when you do kind of describe what you do right now, when you're like, oh, I do, this is what I do. But you're someone that I think often blows my mind in terms of capacity. I think that's the one term I often associate with you, is just your capacity is incredible in that, yeah, you're still a full-time clinician. You still practice like 4 or 5 days a week, 9 to 5, seeing patients back to back, doing all this, crazy work, but you're also, you know, a practice owner. And so you're,
Mm.
looking into the business, but then as maybe, and we're going to dive into where this comes from, but maybe it's influenced by, mum and how she is as a business owner herself, but just the need to kind of, check in on everyone. And I remember talking to one of your practice managers, and she was just like, I can't believe Paul. She's just like, he's on his lunch break and he's trying to follow up the fridge man. Right? And I'm like, let someone else follow up with with a guy that's coming to fix the fridge. Paul, you're a dentist. Go do your dental work. Stop worrying about the fridges. Right? But that's just the kind of person that you
Whatever
are.
needs to be fixed. Whatever needs to be
Right?
fixed.
Like you'll do that, then you'll go, unclog the toilet if it needs help, and then go fix this and fix that. Not that you're very much of a handyman, but you'll still do it. And then on top of all of that, you mentor all of your associates, and you have so many, and you mentor very, very proactively, and you love to teach. And then on top of all of that, you have a family as well, and you've got, your own little one, and it's just really crazy to see that you are always able to, make time for all of that and still, deal with me when I call you in the around middle of the night being like, I need attention right now. Drop everything and listen to me right now. As someone who is also a recent grad and early in their career, I know how tough it can be to build your confidence and refine your clinical skills. That's where Ripe Global comes in. Led by Dr. Lincoln Harris, they've completely reimagined dental education, giving you on-demand, hands-on training from some of the best clinicians in the world. No expensive travel or taking time off work, just practical, real-world learning that actually helps you feel more confident in the clinic. And because I know how much you all love a good deal, Ripe Global is offering 60% off their annual membership exclusive to the graduate dentist community. But it's only available for the next 5 days, so don't miss out. Use our code GRADUATE60 at checkout before February 21st to claim the offer. You can check out our show notes for the link and start leveling up today. Circling back into, I guess, your love for teaching, I think that's something that I really want to dive into this episode because this is, I think, where your current journey is. Yes, there's all the clinical side, there's the business owner side, but I think your true love has always been teaching. And this year is when it's kind of now really just accumulated. And I will be the first to say that I was your first ever student. Right?
Oh, here we go.
This is where all the trauma comes down.
Yes.
You talk about now teaching, like 60, 70, 80 dentists, right? And then now you're about to launch a course and be involved in all these like opportunities to speak across Australia and internationally. But it all started with one.
Well, the context of that was mum what were you going for? A scholarship test?
This was actually, and if we wind back to when our journeys first started, this would have been when you just graduated year 12.
Oh, yes.
And you were Dux and you topped, topped, what was it, maths methods, got a 50, and I was flunking it.
Right. That rings a bell. Mum, I remember it now. So what happened was you just joined the class and, in typical Asian fashion, you got to save money. Mum wants you to go get a scholarship and she goes, she puts you through a test. And then the teachers basically said, Erica's English is phenomenal, like top 10%. But her math is like bottom 10%. So
it's like atrocious. Yeah.
Mom's like, what's the chance of getting a scholarship? They go, none, 0. And Mom's like, okay, well, simple solution. My son's good at maths. So
no. Before they were like, unless you find someone who is deeply committed to teaching her and putting her through boot camp, she has 0 hope, right?
Because what was it? It was like 6 weeks.
Something crazy.
A month. It was just like, Mom's like, okay, when's the next exam? The one before you school. And it's like, honestly, I'm pretty sure it was like a month. Right. I feel like we need to phone a friend and call Mum and ask her for these details. But like, it's like a month, and Mum's like, "Okay, well, Paul's good at math, so I'll just get him to teach you." And she goes to me. She goes, "Paul, I need you to teach Erica maths." And I'm like, "For what?" And she goes, "For scholarship." I'm like, I don't know what questions they ask in scholarship tests. And she goes, "Oh." And I'm like, when is it? She goes, a month. I'm like, how am I going to teach her in a month? Mom's like, oh, okay. She goes to school, asks all the mums there, and she gets like, I don't know, 10 books. And she puts it on my table. She goes, you got 3 months off before you start uni. Here you go teach Erica. And I was like, okay. So I basically had to read the book, figure out what the solutions were, figure out the patterns, figure out what were common questions, and then try to teach it to you, and who's a crybaby and gets upset when I tell you you're wrong. Every single night, I think there was tears and yelling and frustrations. And I think it wasn't Dad saying to Mom one day, he goes,
It's
So
not a
imagine
lot of money.
everyone has to visualize this. They have to picture this. So I'm in a room, locked in the room with Erica, and you're just hearing these two siblings like just going at each other. And then in the far corner of the house, my dad leaning over to my mom and go, look, maybe we should just pay for the full fee spot for her to go to private school. This is not working.
Tuition's not that expensive, right?
Just let's not put her through this. But long story short, you got
my
two scholarships, right?
Yeah. So there's your very first testimonial, right? Like,
I've come very far, guys. I no longer. I don't make anyone cry nowadays. Just to be really good.
I would like to think that your mentoring and tutoring and teaching skills have become a lot more refined since then.
Yeah, it's different nowadays. But teaching your siblings is the different thing as well.
It's different, and that's why everyone says to me, they're just like, "Why don't you go to Paul?" I'm like, every time I go to Paul, he just tells me I'm stupid.
That's not true. That is not true. Maybe in sometimes, maybe.
It's reading between the lines, but
sure.
Going on from that though, that was essentially when, and I guess thank you. And this is however many years later for spending your summer holidays when everyone else was going out and partying and enjoying being 18 and having finished ATAR. Thank you for being holed up and teaching me maths so that I could get a scholarship for year 7.
The funny thing about that though is that mum, in some ways was a really strict mom, but also sometimes she wasn't strict in a lot of other ways. And one of the things that I think I'm the way I am is because every time I compared myself to other people, she told me not to compare myself to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I saw what other people was doing, and she said, and I'd use that as an example, all my friends go out. She told me not to use that example, just focus on yourself, And so it's funny you say things. It's true, I up until like a very late age, was still asking permission to go out from my mum, and she would go through the usual, why do you have to go out? Who are you going out with? What are you doing? All those kinds of things. And, at the time, it's very difficult to understand why she's like that and the lessons that she's trying to teach. But I owe a lot of my success to that teaching, I survived it, first of all. But I'm really grateful because I realize the way I am, the way I approach things, the way I do things nowadays is I owe that mentality to what mum taught me, to not compare about what other people, just focus on yourself and your own growth and your own journey. And that's possibly part of the reason why I have the capacity I do, because I don't look beyond. But sometimes, I've really benefited from that thought process and that mentality, but I also realize that, with the workload that I take on and do as well, and my wife's, obviously Fiona, has helped me in recognizing is that it can also lead to burnout and cause a lot of stress and not. I guess that mentality also means that I don't look after myself as well sometimes, and so I've learned to balance that a lot more. And that's why I've surrounded myself with business partners, with managers and people who help me a lot on a day-to-day basis. And at home, I couldn't do half the stuff I did without, when I was growing up and doing the business ownership, without mum and dad helping me out every single day. Nowadays, I couldn't do anything or go learn or do everything else that I achieve without my wife helping me and her support, or both our mums supporting us, looking after our baby girl. So it's these things. I'm successful from what I do, or whatever perceived success that is because of the people who've enabled me to do that. And I think, and I've spoken to a lot of dentists where they want to achieve all these things, but they may not have they have the fortune of that support network. And I think I talk about the support network a lot in all my conversations with you, with other people. But your support network is your most important thing. Like, I owe a lot of my success because of the people around me. Yeah.
It's nice. And I feel like there are so many lessons that mum instilled in us very early on, that we don't necessarily understand at that point. But then like later in life, it's a typical mom's like, I'll say this to you and one day you'll understand, right?
Yeah,
And I
could build
know
a book on it.
he could write a book on it. But another one of them being is just like, oh, if it was easy, anyone could do it.
Yeah. Yep.
We say that a lot, and I often have that conversation. Perhaps like, we're in different spaces or the people we interact with day to day. Obviously, I talk to students and new grads a lot, and everyone's like, dentistry is so hard. And like, it is hard, right? But if it was easy, anyone could do it. And the fact that we are here, that you're in dentistry, that you are a dentist, you're a dental student, and you're getting through it, it's like, it takes someone, it takes a special someone to be able to do it. And so as harsh as we are on ourselves, you got to give yourself a bit of credit as well, right?
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean,
Mm.
but it's not just dentistry though. Like
Anything.
I think a lot of people and mum and dad would say that it's not just dentistry that's hard. Everything's hard. You know,
Mm.
our parents have well, mum has worked multiple jobs before. Each and every one of them was hard.
Mm.
And dad in his restaurant, he was in the hospitality restaurant business, which we've all been a part of. That was hard
Yeah.
work. So
Yeah.
everything's hard. Nothing's easy. But I guess the idea is just that, the if we can recognize it's hard and we can speak about it and then accept it and then we can get on with it, then that's the thing.
Speaking of like hospitality, this is something that I really wanted to dive into with you. Because if we continue to extrapolate our journey from there, then, right, like I was starting high school around the same time that you were maybe in your first or second year of dental school, right? Um, and throughout this entire period of your uni and my high school days, where did we spend all of our weekends and all of our school holidays?
In the pantry Asian grocers in 161 Commercial Road, South Yarra, Victoria for Port. Please give them a call if you need any Asian groceries. little plug for mom's business right there.
But that's where we spent, right? Like mom and dad are probably going into how many years?
16.
16 years of having the shop. And so we were there when they first opened. I remember mom and dad opened the shop the day of my year 6 graduation because they didn't come pick me up on my last day of school.
Yeah. This was our kin's convenience.
Yeah, literally, right? And so we spent so many of our just like we played there. We ate every single snack off of the shelf.
As payment.
As payment, right? But I think we both got very different things out of helping out at mum and dad's shop. I think it instilled a lot of just like work ethic, and like hard work and appreciating what mum and dad do for us. But I remember you talking about how it taught you the importance of, I guess, like customer service or looking after people and building relationships.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that at that point. And I think perhaps we were at different stages of our life. I'm a 12, 13-year-old who's still so socially awkward. I can't look people in the eye. I was so awkward manning the counter and the cashier. Whereas you were a dental student and you were starting to see patients and this was exciting for you and you're a naturally charismatic person who likes to connect and just chat and get to know people. So being at mum and dad's shop was just this like avenue for you to really express yourself and connect with people. And I think that really perhaps shaped or translated into your patient relationships and communicate. Would you say that? Like, how do you feel like it impacted you?
Yeah, I mean, to give a bit of context, I suppose South Yarra is a really affluent suburb in Melbourne, and the type of, I guess, is clientele the right word, or customers that you would get walking through the shop is very different to a heavily Asian populated area, which is what I guess our parents would be a lot more used to. They've chosen a suburb that they don't feel like they fit in.
Yeah.
They've chosen a very difficult area to try and break into it. And I just remember observing mum, who, she's lived here pretty much all her life, but she still has broken English. And, go about serving these people, these, very, these young professionals, family members who, doctors, lawyers, accountants, coming through the store and servicing them and looking them and teaching them about all the different products and what they could do and how they could cook and show them different recipes that she did. Like mom was talking about stuff that like she'd made it before, but sometimes I'll be like, hey, has mom ever made that for us? No, but she knew so much about it.
Yeah.
And that shop grew and it built up. And so, I got to see the hard work that our parents put into the shop and see the results of it. And so it's, all I need to do is just copy what they do. And so, we were also very fortunate that in the localized areas, that was the service you would get when you walk into these supermarkets or bakeries or whatever it is. And it was very easy to just copy them and just see what they do and what they say and just apply it in our business. And fortunately, I didn't realize at the time, just like you did, but that translated really well into meeting patients and connecting with them, finding common ground, finding common interests. Because in dentistry, like you meet a lot of new patients all the time, and it's just like the shop. And so you get all different types of characters. And so, it was just it was a playground in many, ways of the word, but it was just something that we just benefited from. And it taught us to, I learned it with Dad's restaurant because I worked at Dad's restaurant as well, but then I learned it in a lot more. I got to
Detail.
refine that skill. I learned how to be a waiter, how to connect with customers as a teenager, but then as a young adult, I got to refine that skill in a very nice part of Melbourne, and that benefited me greatly.
There
What
are
about
so
you?
many. There are so many parallels that, again, I don't think I recognized at that point in time. But nowadays when I have conversations with mom, and I'll try drawing analogies to her, like trying to make common ground, like explain some dental term to her, but in shop related, grocery related items, so that she understands the comparisons. But then I realized we often talk about communication and the importance of authenticity and not coming across as pushy and salesy. And I think mum did that so beautifully in that you work at a store. Anytime you're in retail, people automatically assume that, hey, you work retail, you're here to sell people, you're here to upsell and whatnot. But I think what mum did so beautifully is that she really fostered those relationships with her customers. Like, where else do you have, just a local grocery store owner where I don't think mum and dad need to make themselves lunch most days, because they'll have just customers come in and be like, oh, I got you some bread, or I got you a muffin from the cafe, or just brought you this, or I cooked this at home and I wanted to bring this to you. Or like they go on holidays and then bring mum and dad souvenirs. I'm like, I don't even think I have that relationship with the people that I go grocery shopping at. Yet mum had
It's
that.
really nice.
Every customer, mom's always just like, oh, this is my godson and this is my goddaughter. I think we have 20, 30 god sisters and god brothers that we don't even know that mom's adopted.
I mean, they bring souvenirs home for mum from their shop, their holidays.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of relationship that they're meant to foster with these people.
But as an example, right? And I think drawing that analogy or that parallel to dentistry, someone might come to the shop and then ask and be like, hey, I need soy sauce, right? What kind of soy sauce should I get? And mum doesn't necessarily say, oh, the most expensive one, right? The $20 bottle of soy sauce. She stops and she says, oh, what are you cooking?
What cuisine? Yeah.
What cuisine? Right? Oh, I think if you want to do this, you can use this. If you want to do that, you can use that. It depends on you. But if we bring that into dentistry, it's like, oh, a patient comes to you with a broken tooth. You don't necessarily jump straight to oh, you need a crown, right? It's, okay, well, you explore their priorities and you understand their life and what it is that they after. And then if you can cater to them, you build that relationship, and it takes away that whole, feeling like a salesperson. I think that's something that as new grads, everyone's always terrified of, as feeling salesy and stuff. And maybe it's something we talk about, right?
In the shop, mom's philosophy was always to give people a good experience so that they will come back. So that she would ask their name and remember what they do and everything, and she'd introduce herself. And so next time Jeff comes along, you'd be like, oh, hey Jeff, how's work today? What did you do today, or whatever it was. And mom was just super smooth with people, and it came across so well and genuine, and she'd remember people and all that. And she truly is the great communicator. I don't know who she learned it from or how she learned it, but I think deep down, we attended communication courses, but realistically we learned a lot of that from in the pantry.
And I think also, and a lot of just maybe like the people pleasing side of us, or a topic that I said to you that has been quite in the forefront and front and center for me recently is this concept of like to serve people. Brett and Johan in my most recent episode with them, like they talked about that, like talked about, our job as dentists, as healthcare professionals is to serve our patients, right? To look after them. And then, most recently when I was talking to Dr. Anasayup, he was just saying to me, the 4 pillars of happiness for a person is your family, your meaningful friendships, faith, and to be able to serve others. I was like, wow, this concept has just been really like in the forefront for me recently. And then I think, where does this come from? And then I think about just recently I was in Melbourne over Christmas, and mum says to me, she's like, one of the customers, I promised her that I'd get her 2 bottles of yuzu sauce, but I don't have them. So we need to go find them. And then proceeded to drive with her all throughout Melbourne to every single Asian grocery store throughout the city. We went to like 20 of them and we couldn't find them, right? And then Mom's just like, oh, okay. And then I was like, Mom, why do you do this, right? She's like, because I promised them, right? She's like, because I promised them and I wanted to, I don't want to, she's just like,
good values.
It's good values, right? And I think that was very much instilled in us. I guess kind of extrapolating from that then, obviously that was throughout your uni days, and then you started practicing and you then went off to the country. And then you did a few years there. And then at this point, I was probably wondering where I was finishing up high school, I think, was when you graduated, and I was trying to decide.
Yeah. I was 24. You were 17. And all I remember you saying is you don't want to do dentistry. Because, like you alluded to before, you didn't want to be known as my sister. Not like, well, I think to preface that, me and you have always had a great relationship.
Yeah.
But what I've always wanted for you, and I think you've wanted, and I think mum and dad also wanted for you, was to pave your own pathway. And you go on your own journey of learning. And so it's funny how you ended up back in dentistry. Why don't you share that with people, how what your thought process was when you were 17, 18, going into uni, undergrad, and how did you end up being in dentistry?
It's funny, like I think perhaps people that don't know us, like it almost sounds like I'm resentful of our relationship, but it very much wasn't. Like growing up, I was attached.
No, that's...
Yeah, it's like I was attached to you by the hip. I don't know any like 13-year-old, 14-year-old like boy that has to go out with his friends and then have to bring his little sister with him, right? And I went everywhere with you, and you're like my best friend. I adored you. You're like my superhero. And so then like that was that. But then I also felt like because of that, I clung so tightly to you that I, in some ways, was perhaps always like in your shadow. And perhaps as I was hitting those angsty teenage years and entering into early adulthood, it was like, okay, I need to be my own person. And perhaps that act of defiance was, I don't want to do dentistry, right? Like, I don't want to continue, feeling like I'm always Paul's little sister and always in his shadow. And so I didn't want to. But then that landed me into, and at that time things had changed as well. When you did dentistry, it was still, what was it, DDS? Like undergrad, right?
BDSC, Bachelor of Dental Science.
Right?
Yeah.
And then by the time it was like my turn to start uni, dentistry was all postgrad now. So it gave me 3 years to do biomedicine, and that was good. It was 3 years to just kind of take some time to think, okay, what it is that I wanted at that time. I wanted to do med. And then that was when you'd kind of done your stint working rurally, and you had the opportunity to, I guess, go into practice ownership. And that was, I think, when things perhaps changed a little bit, because now I actually got to see, well, one, you were back in Melbourne, but then I also got to see like what you did a bit more. And then I started assisting you a little. I remember when you first started.
Oh, yes, I remember when you started assisting.
I was a terrible assistant, right? Because this was still me not being confident, and you'd be like, you can talk to the patient, Erica.
just sweat dropping, focusing on the suctioning on the patient's mouth. I'm like, hey man, just relax.
You're like, I'm the one doing the dentistry, you're just suctioning, right? Assisting still stresses me out, so kudos to our assistants. I think it's very stressful still.
I actually forget that. I forget that you actually assisted for me.
But that was perhaps a little, finally, even though you went through uni and you were working, I never really saw what dentistry was until you had your practice, and then I actually got to be with you and see you do dentistry, and then assist and see the behind the scenes, and I decided, okay, like maybe this isn't so bad. Like maybe this was a good life and lifestyle to pursue.
Mm,
And then you kind
mm,
of really touched on that point of, okay, where do I go? Had the opportunity to go to Sydney and
yeah.
then went through that. But then I think circling back into what happened next, I still remember, you were a practice owner for a couple of years. When did you hire your first associate?
In it would have been in 20. Sorry, I'm just thinking 2017.
2017. Yeah.
Yep.
And then
I owned the practice in 2016. That was my first year as a practice owner.
mm,
And then I grew it over a period of a year, and then I hired my first associate in 2017. Yep.
mm-hmm. And then things kind of like slowly evolved. And I think perhaps a big turning point was, I think, COVID, because then all your associates and yourself weren't working and you guys all still wanted to learn. And so you decided to run these online, just like sessions. And that was perhaps the beginning of your online sessions and the
Mm.
beginning of your
It,
teachings, right?
it was, yeah. So I hired my first associate in 2017,
Mm,
became a multiple practice owner in 2018, ran with it in 2019, and then 2020 was when COVID happened.
mm,
And like prior to that, I had at the time, I think, I'm going to get this wrong, but I think like 5 associates or 6 associates
mm,
across the practice, and we used to just meet up at my house,
mm,
or we'd meet up at practice and we just chat. And it was very just random, really. Like there was no structure whatsoever.
mm,
And then COVID taught us a lot of things in life and in business. And one of those things was let's try and still learn. Let's try and keep everyone motivated. And let's not try to de-skill because we don't know how long we're going to be locked up for.
mm,
And let's just like showcase and discuss some stuff. And then it became treatment planning sessions and me bringing cases that I'd seen and discussed prior. And then, realize that it was a great system that we could make online learning work. And because, a lot of my practices are not in the same suburb or the same area, some are regional, it created a platform for me to really grow the regional practice and still provide that mentoring. Because I think there was a concern with people like, well, Paul, you're not always up in the country, so you're not always regional. So
mm,
what's the purpose of me being there if I can't learn from you or anything like that? And so that kind of like broke it through. And it's something that to this day I still run
mm.
alongside either myself or my business partners. But it's something that I really enjoy and love. And I'm just so glad that in some ways I'm so glad that COVID happened. I owe a lot to it. So
There's a lot that comes with leaving university and properly adulting that no one really prepares you for. As a new grad with an income and newfound responsibilities we don't know what to do with, managing finances can be really tough. That's where JS Medical and Dental Finance comes in. Specializing in financing options tailored to medical and dental professionals, JSMDF is a completely independent broker dedicated to finding the best bank and lender for your unique situation. Led by the incredible Jason Savage, who personally came to my rescue and worked his magic and helped me secure a loan before I even started working, JSMDF is committed to supporting you throughout your personal and professional journey in whatever way you need. Whether you're looking to buy a house, a car, a practice, or pay off that year-long CPD course you signed yourself up for, JSMDF offer comprehensive advice tailored to your short and long-term plans. Their goal is to be with you from day one and thoroughly understand your financial needs and provide solutions that best work for you. And so if you're looking for some advice or you simply want to explore your options, get in touch with Jason and his team. A big thank you to JSMDF for helping make being an adult that extra bit easier and for supporting the graduate dentist community. How do you feel like your teaching and mentoring has evolved then as you yourself has also evolved as a clinician? Obviously, we've talked that since, your early days of tutoring me, you've gotten a lot better. But,
yeah,
you've
yeah,
always, we talk about our journeys in parallel, like your first few years, but you became a practice owner very early on, like in your third, fourth year out, hired your first associate. Like, how
yeah.
did you feel as their mentor then, teaching them things? And then, from your very first session that you ran in 2020 with just your handful of associates in COVID to the level that you teach now, where you teach treatment planning to a high degree, high standard, like high level, and all this complex work.
Mm.
How has your teaching evolved as you've evolved as a dentist?
I think
Mm.
because I've been a tutor
Mm.
since I've been in high school, teaching and mentoring has always been easy for me.
Mm.
For those who have been involved with teaching and tutoring during uni or high school and all that, I think you'll find that you your ability to just share knowledge with people just comes a lot more naturally.
Mm.
And when I had my first associate, it was just like I had someone to tutor again,
Mm.
and I knew I enjoyed it. I knew I liked it. Me and you worked at the same tutoring business, and you know what it's like to tutor someone, and I just got a lot of enjoyment from it.
Mm.
Has my mentoring changed with with my skill set increasing? I wouldn't say that my mentoring in and of itself has changed. I'm still trying to grasp what my associate is. I still very much know the level that they're at.
Mm.
But in my mind, for every single associate that I have, I know where I want them to be, or I know I deep down know the skill set that they have, or where they are lacking, whether it be skill set, whether it be knowledge, whether it be confidence. I kind of just sense that.
Yeah.
And I'm able to kind of push them in the right direction based on what it is. So as I've got my skills have grown, and I've learned that case selection is really, really critical. I'm finding that my mentoring is more about trying to hold people back more than just letting them run with it. But then you've got these other people who don't have who have the knowledge, who I know have the skill but don't have the confidence yet. It's just trying to balance that. So I wouldn't say the actual teaching aspect hasn't changed. I mentor the same as I would for a full mouth rehab as I would for a single unit crown. And that happens still on a day to day basis. I still have my dentists come to me for a single unit crown, and I still have dentists who come to me about how they communicate, and I still have dentists who come to me for an implant versus a full mouth rehab. The general approach is the same. However, I guess with added complexity in cases, I do have to try and get them to I have to have a deep understanding of where they're at and where I want them to be. Um, and the more as the cases get more complex, I also try to get my dentist to do a thought exercise. So, say for example, with a single unit crown, we can sit down and talk about the case right there and then. But if I've got a dentist who hasn't completed 5 of whatever so cases that they're asking me about, I want to do a full write up, as an example, a full presentation, a full thought exercise of what they're going to do, study the patient. What are the options? It's like I'm sending them back to uni.
Yeah.
It's almost like I send them back to uni, but I really feel that, as a lot of your previous speakers have said, is that it's a privilege for us to be treating patients. It's our duty, but it's also a privilege, and so we shouldn't be taking advantage of any opportunities that come through our labs and just be like, this is just for me to learn from. And so you've got to take the time, the care to plan the case, to acknowledge whether it's within your case, because just be like, oh, yeah, I'm really excited to do this implant. I've never done it before. I don't really care about the patient's medical history or what they're working with. And I just want to be able to post it on Instagram, whatever it is. Like, I just don't do well with that. If I had someone like that, wouldn't be in my group. But the second thing is, as well, I just want to teach them the ethical and the care aspect of a lot of these things. So yeah, like teaching is just something that no matter how complex, I just enjoyed, I guess. So yeah.
I think what's been fun as well for me to see is like, over the years, I've watched you hire all your associates. For many of them, like, I was fortunate to sit in their job interviews, right? Just in the background, just eavesdropping. But then to see how they've grown as clinicians. And I think you do that really well in just tapping into, like you said, understanding the person as well
Mm.
and what their drivers are. But even very quickly, I remember what was fun is, like, obviously you have your own associates, but like late last year when you came up to Brisbane and you came and taught at my group, you didn't know the dentist there. You've heard stories, in passing of me telling you about like, oh, these are the people that I work with. And yet on the day, you were really able to, like almost target each person. And in some ways, it comes off as scary and intense, but I think it's like, you always tell me you grow the most when you're uncomfortable, right? And I think you do that very
Yes.
well when you push your associates and you push your students to really dig deep. And it's not just, they can't just come. I think, how do we explain this to our listeners? But like, I think you hold people to a very high standard. And so, yes, your door is always open and you can always come to you with any question, but there's a standard that you expect. Something like,
Yes.
you always say to me, if anyone comes to you with a case, you're just like, where are your records? And if it's not a full set of records, like that's not acceptable. And you have your reasoning behind it because you're like, if you care enough about it, right? If you're properly looking after your patient, and you genuinely want a answer and you've done all your thinking, you should come to me with like all of it. It shouldn't be half-assed, right?
Yeah.
But you have that standard of like all the people that you teach. And I think because deep down you care about them and their growth. It's not enough for you just for them to attend and to listen. You want to make sure that they're actually leaving, having left, and it's actually, stuck with them.
Yeah.
Right?
I care a lot about
Mm.
I care a lot about the people around me and that I am of help to them. I care that if I say something to someone, I want it to mean something. I want them to take something from it and remember it. If someone's come to me for help, I'll always try to help them. And it's funny, you're so good at sifting through the thoughts and making things clear in people's mind, and you've made it really clear in my mind. You asked me how has my mentoring changed as I've gone. I think I feel a burden. That sounds really bad, but it's not.
A responsibility with great responsibility.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yes, I feel a lot more responsibility because I do a lot of complex work now. People come to me asking questions about complex work. So if I am the person providing that advice to them, to a patient who's going to pay for that treatment, put their health in our hands, they need to be able to see what I see. It's funny. I hear so many people who have mentored me, or I've thought, they said, it's funny, the more I spend time in dentistry or in the profession, I realize how little I know. How little I know. It's just like, if I don't have a certain set of glasses, I can't see something. And that's the problem with us young graduates. And it's not our fault. A lot of us are trying to run and try to capture everything and try to understand a lot of these things. And, the famous Ben Dang said, we always compare our chapter 1 to chapter 10. And we always just want to jump to chapter 10 or whatever it is. And that's the problem, is because you don't see all the problems that are happening around you. And so I've found that I am harder on my associates. I am more, I care because I care a lot. I'm a lot harder on them because I care about their patient. I care about their growth and journey, and I want them to do things for the right reason. And so, I believe in the process of being uncomfortable to learn. Because if you're asking something, you want to be with me and you want to learn with me, I'm not going to make you fall asleep while I'm talking to you. Like, I want to look you right in the eye. I'm going to make sure you feel comfortable asking me that question or whatever it is. Yeah, like that's how I want them to learn. I'm scary, but I care.
That's it, right? But it's the what you were saying about the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. And just like, recently the other day, I asked you about a liner case. And I was just like, oh, okay. Thought I understood it. And then you're like, why are your attachments like this? And why is it like that? And I remember leaving the session and I called mum and I'm like, Mum, I don't know anything. Right? And she's like, what? But I'm like, I talked to Paul and I feel stupid again. But such is life. And as I have to remind myself, you are like 10 years ahead of where I am in terms of dentistry. And so there's a lot to go. You've taught so many associates, you've mentored so many people. Yeah. And some have really thrived, or some you've really clicked with and you've really watched grow, others less so. What do you feel like make a hallmark of a good associate and a good mentee? And advice for, now listeners, I guess, in terms of their approach and their attitude. And yeah.
I can't speak on behalf of every owner, because every owner is different and their motive drivers and motivators are different. They're also in different stages of their life. I can only speak about me and my experience with associates and who I get along with and who I see do really well. I have a lot of happy associates, right? When I say happy, I just mean when I see them, they're just happy people and they just look like they're enjoying life, right? I don't hold them accountable with the billings all the time or whatever it is. I'm just saying like they're just happy people. And I find that the ones who are really happy are also the people who come find me when they need me. They know I'm there and they come and get me to learn and grow. But in my eyes, the people who I think perform really well in my group, and I'm talking about the people who are satisfied, fulfilled, people who are billing really well, it just comes down to attitude. Like these people who do really well in my group right now aren't necessarily the people who were high billing, high performing, or great communicators right from the very beginning, but they just showed an intense passion for learning, and they were just so willing to be told where to grow and how to focus on things. And they never were defensive. They were never, how to say, they just didn't mind being told how to grow, and they were just so open to the mentoring. And as long as that they had such a great attitude, I kind of let them take it at their own pace of growth. That's honestly, for me, the only thing I really look at. And you hear a lot of other people say the same thing, I guess. But if you have a great attitude to learning and you care about the group and you contribute not only to a happy environment, and then you should be happy. And that's all you really, really need at the end of the day.
You say that about like your associates and what you see as factors of being fulfilled and being satisfied and being happy. If I were to like turn the tables or flip that around on yourself, right? In your 12, 13 years, were you always satisfied and happy and fulfilled in dentistry? I don't know if that's a really loaded question, but I just thought of that as you were talking about it.
Wow. As an associate, I was really happy.
Why?
I've said it time and time again. My first bosses, I'm happy to give them a plug. Ballarat Dental Group, Dr. Hannah and Tam, you know, great bosses, taught me a lot. I was so happy because I was part of a group. I'm a people person. I'm extroverted. I enjoy being around people, and we were around such a great team, and there were just opportunities to learn left, right, and center. I could walk into anyone's room and do that. So as an associate, I was happy and felt fulfilled. I didn't know what was ahead of me, you know, but I was just enjoying life. I was young. I didn't have any responsibilities. And then came practice ownership. And practice ownership happened because of my, people know this, my uncle came to me with an opportunity because certain things happen in our lives that kind of pushed that opportunity through. And I said, I'm 25 years old. What have I got to lose? You know, if this doesn't work, I'll just go back to being an associate. And those first 6 months were the worst. Those first 6 months were the worst. You know, you go from seeing a lot of patients in a big group of practices to basically have nothing. No one's there to help you. No one's there to guide you. You're alone. It's just you and the nurse. And I remember, and I've told this story before, I sat on mum's foot of her bed and I cried. I just said to her, this is really hard. I don't know anything. I don't understand anything else. 26? And she said, which is very unlike her, said, if it's so hard, just don't do it. I was like,
what?
That's the worst advice you've ever given me. I don't know but it's reverse psychology or something, and then it kind of just lit a fire up under my bum to kind of go and try and find a way to make this work. And then, you know, if I can't find people around me, I've got to go find the people. And then I went on this incredible journey really up until now where I've found mentors and now business partners who have inspired me and made me feel included and made me feel a part of the community. And go on the journey. And, it's this idea, no matter what kind of path you take, we always focus on an end goal, right? Like we want money, we want a nice house, we want a nice car, we want not to work and have time for family. That was my goal for a very long time. It's the journey that's fun. And I think how I keep myself passionate and enjoying dentistry is that I always have something to look forward to. I always have something new on the horizon, and I always have new opportunities coming around for these kind of things. And it just makes things exciting for me. I don't, but I don't leave things behind. I bring people with me along for the journey. So a lot of my senior associates who, were the people who became great communicators, great billers, great people and great culture fits and everything, they became business partners of mine. And I've taken them along the journey. I said, I've been very fortunate to have a career that's been successful, fun, great, and I want to take you along with it. I don't want to feel like I'm leaving people behind. And that's the thing. You want them to go on the journey because it's the journey that's fun. And just we're talking about this teaching journey. You're on a podcast journey and growing your podcast. I'm on my teaching journey now. And it's super fun because I'm meeting all these people and there's opportunities coming around here and there. And that's what keeps it exciting. What other points in my career has it been hard and difficult? Well, I mean, I'd say as early as 2 years ago, it was really difficult. We're building a new practice from scratch. We're doing very stressful kind of work, and I had to play manager. I had to play mentor, and I traveled a lot that year. I mean, that year I traveled 14 times to the airport just to do courses, do learning, do teaching, whatever it was. And I kind of burnt out towards the end of the year. I didn't get to a point where I needed help or anything. I just kind of got to a point where I realized that I just wasn't enjoying what I was doing. And thankfully, I had the right people to talk to around me, and we set up ways to fix that. And I'm in a much, much, much better place. I'm very far from that, in fact. But it's okay. I think it's okay for us to have these low moments. Again, I think it's another mom saying that if you don't have the low moments, how do you know when you're having the high moments, as an example? But having a support network or a group of friends, a peer or a community like you, it's such a great segue into all of it.
Yeah.
If you have a community that you can share a lot of this, no matter what stage of the journey, or whether you're just worried about that $1,000 treatment plan that you're building out for a patient, whether it's a $10,000 treatment or a $50,000 treatment, whatever part of that journey it is, it's okay. Just have people around you who you can share that with, and realize that it's just part of the goal, part of the journey, part of the learning. And you've got to enjoy it, because if we knew everything, nothing would be fun, nothing would be special. So that's just how I feel about things.
There is so much we want to learn as new grads that dental school doesn't expose us to. One thing, of course, being the world of clear aligners. But where do we even start? Fortunately for me, I've been lucky to be taken under the wings of Angel Aligner. With over 20 years of experience in innovation and research and over 1 million smiles transformed, Angel stands as the second largest aligner company in the world for volume. With their competitive pricing, rapid turnaround time, and phenomenal support team, Angel is second to none. Last year, I had the unique experience of taking on my very first aligner case whilst undergoing aligner treatment myself. And it is so fascinating being able to experience treatment firsthand and fully understand the ins and outs of what my patients are going through as well. It was such a streamlined process from start to finish. Angel's iAuthor treatment planning software is incredibly user-friendly, particularly for a grad. Their team, overseen by trained dentists and orthodontists, work tirelessly around the clock to deliver your treatment plans within days, sometimes hours, so you aren't stuck waiting around for weeks on ends to deliver your patient care. High quality and with unique scalloped edges that make them both hygienic and super comfortable to wear, both my patients and I have been so pleased with the experience. Thank you, Angel Aligner, for guiding me through the world of clear aligners and for supporting the Graduate Dentist podcast. One thing that I really like, as you were telling that, I recall a conversation that you had with me. And this is oftentimes, I think, a good reminder when new grads want to do everything and everything all at once. I always say we have to slow down and just remember we're at the very beginning of what's to be a very long career ahead of us. And you don't have to do everything all at once. And as an example, right, for the longest time, you never thought you'd ever be the dentist that did implants.
Oh, yeah.
Never, right? Like you did ortho, and actually you were at a career, correct me if I'm wrong, but what, maybe like 7, 8 years out, you're a practice owner. This is probably just after COVID, and your life was very much being this practice owner and mentoring your associates. And I don't even think you did very complex, like, I think maybe you had like a handful of full mouth rehabs that you had done, because I remember at that time, like, there was this one case that you'd always showcase because it was the only one like rehab case that you had done, right? But
Yeah.
you felt like you had hit your clinical ceiling. And I remember you saying to me, like, I mentor everyone, like, I'm everyone's mentor, but who is my mentor?
Yeah.
I remember you having that conversation. You were like, what, like 8, 9 years out at that point, and you thought you had learnt everything that there was to dentistry. And then opportunities came your way, and suddenly that ceiling just opened up, and you started learning implants, and you started doing like one opportunity came after another, and then you now do like these cases on a day-to-day basis, and you're doing like, full arches and all this crazy stuff. And you were so excited because you're like, oh my goodness, like, I'm learning again. I get to be the student again, and I get to learn from all these people. And I think it's exciting because when I see your journey, I see what there is in the future, that I don't have to do everything right now. I'm in my third year. For our listeners, you're in your first year, you're in your second year, you're, 5 years out, right? Like, there is so much more. And even when you feel like you've learned everything, there may be more things that you didn't even think you would learn,
Yeah.
right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm that mentor you're talking to, right? His name is Dr. Alvin Wong.
You're going to
He,
shout
he,
them out, right?
he doesn't know how much joy he brought to me and that
Mm.
around that period of my life.
Mhm.
He's not kind of the person who enjoys these kind of conversations, but he brought so much joy to me, and he's honestly the person who made me grow my love for clinical dentistry again. Because that time that you talked about, I was working 3 days a week.
Mm.
My daughter was just born. Honestly, the best year of my life, really.
Mm.
Like, I worked 2 days a week. Practices were doing really well. I had quite a number of associates. Everyone was happy. It was good. Life was good, but there was just that period that, okay, I've worked. How was I? 28, 29, or whatever it was, and I've reached the point that I was working for since I was 23. By that time, and I was just like, oh no, sorry, I was like 30, and I was like, this is it. I've reached the end of the rainbow. The whatever I wanted, I achieved it.
Mhm.
And then I was like, what's next?
Mhm.
It really was that. And then all these other things happened and opportunities came along. And then, man, like the spark just went off again. Like, it just blew the ceiling to kind of make it clear for me. Like,
Sparkles.
when I would, yeah. And
You thought the rainbow was it,
also,
and then suddenly there's just like
there's
the
space. There's
space.
space. That's honestly how it was.
Yeah.
And then the journey started again.
Mm.
And that's why I keep talking about the journey.
Mm.
Like, don't rush so much to do everything. Like you said,
Mm.
I think it's very easy for people to see and look at what I do, and I think I've been doing for the longest time. I haven't. I did 1 crown in my first year. I want everyone to know that I did 1 crown in my first year.
Mhm. I think it's a nice way, just kinda like to start the year off. I don't wanna go like too heavy, too hard. Like, a lot of our listeners are, just first years. Like, you're starting our Discord has been popping off today, and I'm like, this must be day 1 for a lot of people, right? But, it's exciting. It's an exciting career to be a part of. And yes, there'll be ups and downs. But yeah, I think it's good to just highlight the good points of it as well. And I think this was a nice episode just to reflect on the journeys, be grateful. I feel like this episode or this conversation just made me very grateful for the people I think we've been fortunate to be around and to have grown up with,
Mm.
you know, yourself included.
Yeah, I think, whether you're a new grad or whether you're a fifth year out or a 10-year out, and, you're listening to us as you drive to work in the morning or whatever it is, it's the start of a new year. There's a lot of opportunities ahead for us. And I hope you guys all have something to look forward to that you can go along with all your friends.
I think so. Um, Yeah, I hope for our I was gonna say, like, I hope our listeners don't feel like this is too sappy and too sentimental of an episode, or it's just both of us being nostalgic and reflecting on our journeys. But I thought it'd be a nice way to kind of just start the year off, like every 6 months for the last, I don't know, since I've started working. I've done a 6 month recap or a 6 month recall with people. And I thought
And
this
just with
one
me this time.
Yeah, right. I thought it'd be nice to kind of do that. And you've always been in the background throughout my journey. I've been in your background throughout your journey. So I thought it'd be nice to kind of share that with our audience as well, for them to kind
Yeah.
of get a sneak peek into, yeah, our lives, right?
Yeah, I think I think it was. I mean, it was kind of good for me to kind of go back and think about things that have led me to my journey, and it's very easy to forget how far you've come in anyone's own journey. But it's always really nice to look back on the mountain that you've climbed and kind of reflect on that. And so, you're right. It's a new year, and on the topic of journeys, whoever's listening to this, whatever journey you're on, whether it be CBD, personal, I hope you guys are all excited about it, and I hope you find something that you love and you enjoy. And just remember, it's just the journey that you're along with, that you're going for. So I hope you guys have fun.
Yeah. Happy 1 year of the graduate dentist. And
Happy 1 year.
Many more exciting things to come for 2025 for everyone. Okay.
Let's go.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Graduate Dentist Podcast. I really hope you've taken something valuable away from this episode and that you feel heard, you feel seen, inspired, and optimistic about our journey as graduate dentists. As I always say, we're in it together, so let's spread the word, let's share the love, send this to your friends, your colleagues, and those who are on a similar path who you feel may benefit from being part of the community. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so send me a message, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time for another episode.